This is the Startup Still Say podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Do us a favor, subscribe on YouTube or LinkedIn, and be sure to give us your feedback. Hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Startups Still Say. Happy New Year to all of you. This is our first episode in 2026. And I'm super excited to have Arpan Garg from the New Delhi area in India, the founder and the leader of Commudle, joining us today. I've been a big part of the open source community and communities in general over the career. So when I saw Commudle and what Arpan's trying to do, it piqued my interest. So I looked it up and seeing what he and his team are doing. Plus the fact that Arpan and I coincidentally just exchanged notes over LinkedIn for one of his needs. And I was like, you know what, Arpan should come on the show. And I reached out and Arpan readily agreed. So Arpan, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. And it's good to finally meet face to face, probably someday soon in person as well.
Yes.
But yes, just went through the podcasts and everything that you've been doing. The audio part, which you mentioned is consumed more, is, super interesting, that the way it is picking up. And thank you for inviting me over here.
Pleasure. So you have a super cool platform going, but before we get to Commudle itself, let's talk a little bit about yourself, Arpan. Tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what brought you to Commudle, and maybe a little bit of a life story, if you will.
Sure. So, if I were to say, it's all been around building things from day one. When I was a kid, and I'll just get back into a little bit of nostalgia, we were not allowed to watch cartoons during our school time or anything. There was a fear that we'll get scolded. So there was no cartoon channel, and there were, I guess, maybe 11 or 12 channels on that, CRO type TV. We were made to watch Discovery and Discovery Kids. So I still remember watching with my father a particular show called Extreme Machines, wherein they used to break down into how those, cars or different technology was built, how it used to get developed. And that is, I would say, at the core foundation of how I am able to think or come up with ideas, or am always still, been 10 years into technology, but every time a new phone or any new gadget comes up, I'm equally excited to, explore it. So that is probably where it started. Then during school, had almost up till class 12th, every time there was a science fair in school, I used to have a stall, no matter what, right from an automatic stapler, wherein you slide the paper, it staples, to something like that flower pot that you used to see, that you put the stick into two colored waters, and the flower used to have two half colors, to a lot of other projects that were there. And this journey continued, even translating into my college, wherein I had seen this problem that a whole village has motorcycles, cc engines, and there were 5 or 7 people sitting, the whole family sitting on that 100cc engine. And I thought, why can't we translate this into a 4-wheeler? And that was a project that we built. We drove to the college. It was a 3-fueled hybrid car. So there are a number of good and bad and really bad examples which I followed through in terms of building. And alongside, came in a number of startups that I have worked with, some great people. And today, yes, here I am trying to build one of my own.
Awesome. That is a awesome backstory. I would have never guessed that extreme engineering, or extreme machines, as they call it on Discovery, fueled who you are. I will always remember you when I see another episode of that again. I used to follow it growing up as well. Especially the episodes on, how they do aircraft engines or building bridges or, skyscrapers and all of that.
Absolutely.
So amazing. Great story. And that's why parents always want to sow the seeds when the kids are young, right? So now you're thankful to your parents as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So are your parents proud of you for showing your discovery and nothing else back in the day?
I think, if you've seen Three Idiots, there was a certain period of time wherein I was that kid who used to just pick up the screwdriver and open up anything. So especially during that period, they wouldn't have been, but I hope they are right now.
Yeah, fascinating story. So thanks so much for sharing that. That's That's a really, really nice nostalgia, as you said, right? Looking back at your career from where you are, let's start with, you coming out of school and college almost 10, 15 years ago, right? So obviously you had this passion and in a way in your blood saying, hey, I want to build things. I want to go after, new things to solve world problems or, common problems out there. We always have a choice, right? I mean, now coming out of college in India, you're always given like two, three choices. You either become an engineer or you get into software or I don't know what engineering or which course you did.
Mm-hmm.
And you also, I mean, at least back when I was coming out of college, I mean, you either had IT or, you had something else. Most of the kids chose IT and moved on. So nowadays, I mean, at least with the way the startup world is and, how the small business is in India, the scene is very different. So did you tell yourself saying, hey, I don't want to work for a corporate. I want to be in the small business or the startup world? I mean, what was your thinking, especially with the sort of DNA and the wiring that you were brought up with? What was your thinking coming out of college?
So I would say that I didn't have much of a choice. One thing was clear that I wanted to do engineering and I
Mm-hmm.
picked up electronics because I wanted to get
Yeah.
into robotics. The college being in a tier 2, tier 3 city, we didn't even get the R of it. But yes, one small thing that I was able to do was find the shop which supplied those parts to the college's lab. I used to buy it from there and assemble my own circuits and test it out in the college, all those things. So that was more interesting. But what happened was, I was academically doing very well in the college. I was only studying one of those Padhaku students and everything because I just found it interesting that, how much more can I grasp till I reach and max out. So just out of college, I was like, okay, I've topped, I've ranked one across all branches. So companies will be running after me without considering the college. So that didn't happen. Lot and lot of rejections. I used to just measure the length of the metro, Delhi metro, going from company to company, good places, shady places, giving interviews and getting highest marks, but getting rejected because of the branch, or just getting rejected because of the branch, or maybe, not getting an interview because mostly the roles were into programming and not electronics. So I got my first job, fortunately, at a digital marketing company, which used to manage the online reputation of a lot of brands. So the brands I used to handle was W for Women, Aurelia, MTV Exit, HarperCollins. So these brands were the ones. I was having a lot of fun in terms of generating ideas. There was absolutely no scope of failing because you were experimenting with creative ideas into marketing. What would work? We used to trend on Twitter and everything, and they were kind enough to give me a lot of ownership. But at the end of 6 months, when my probation completed, 5.5 or 6 months, I had the option to continue or to do something else. This is where I took a step back because I was spending around 4 to 5 hours daily in the metro, traveling from one end to the other. And what I had been going through at the back of my head was I was taking someone's platform and someone's product and creating that marketing strategy. I was
Mm-hmm.
enjoying it, but I had a calling that I wanted to be on either side of building things, building from scratch or maybe growing something existing. And that is where I decided to re-dive into programming. Somehow computers came easy to me. So that is why I was not interested to take it up as a branch in college. I was like, this is something I'll do on the side or something. So that is where the journey started. I took up programming again, got into my first job, which was initially an unpaid internship for a month. That too I got because no one else raised hands in the class where I was learning coding when the project was being handed over. So then the next day, after a month, they offered me an internship. The next day itself, they offered me a full-time job. And I was balancing between going to the US because I had my GRE scores or anything. But then I thought, those 2 years of MS versus 2 years of building something from scratch, let's take this chance. And I would say that is where the journey started. And that first job taught me a lot because I was directly thrown amongst sharks, people from at the director level of Amazon, Facebook, and doctors from AIMS in Delhi, and me being the sole developer. So sitting at the reception, teaching receptionists how to use it, what I was building, while using it and building it myself. And the doctor shouting that Arpan prescription is not getting submitted, lab shouting Arpan reports are not getting uploaded, me fixing it in real time. So I joke around that I've done everything in the healthcare startup other than picking out blood using a syringe because I'll faint. Otherwise, I've sat on the bike with the sample collector pharmacist and gone to the patient's home to test our application, sit in with medical representatives and given demos to doctors of our software. Me being the only one in shorts and them being very well dressed. So that was the, you can say, foundation laying experience for my tech building, product building.
That's, again, I mean, a lot of life stories there and lessons you've learned for what you are today, and it'll serve you for life. Right.
Thank you.
So let's probably do a little bit of fast forward, if you will. So you came out of college, an electronics engineer, tried your first hand at the marketing technology company, so on and so forth, and then you did this gig. I mean, how did the whole developer ecosystem open up for you? Where was your first hand experience with dealing with developers and kind of a stepping stone, if you will, for what you are working on today?
Okay, another story, if I may.
Sure.
This is so. While in my first startup job, at the company is still there. It's called as Kalpavriksha Healthcare. I used to, so it was a super specialty center with 7-8 cabins, and I used to sit next to a doctor's cabin in another doctor's cabin till that doctor arrived in the evening and code all day. So the only sources to validate what I was building was going onto YouTube, going onto Medium, or reading something online. So we had interns for a short while, and they were once talking about some event is coming up, and them being interns, I was able to take that favor. Can I attend? And the name was Google Developer Group, so Google was interesting, right? And 1 weekend later, I was there picking them up, going to the venue, and seeing that my interns are standing on the stage at a co-working space and teaching a set of 80 people who included students, professionals. One CTO was also there. There were tech leads, there were senior developers, and it was a technology called Firebase. It had just come out by Google, right? I was amazed. Free education plus free food, and I could just hop around and ask people that, what are you building? I am working on this. Is this the right way? If the technology match. So that is where it started, that this kind of an open learning ecosystem exists, and that is where GDG as a journey started for me. I started attending regularly, whether the technology was of my domain or not, just to network with people and just to know what all is going on, so that tomorrow if I get to a point wherein I want to use it, at least it doesn't have to be a problem of I don't know what I don't know. So then from there, a year and a half later, one of the organizers of the community was moving out. I got a chance to step in. Basically, they invited me because I was very regular giving talks and all different events. And from there, that is where you can say the seed for Commudle was sown, because it was an open playground wherein you could not fail. You could just experiment and learn from different people. Fortunately, I got invited to Google I/O twice by Google, wherein I also got a chance to deliver a talk at I/O in 2019, representing India and talking about how to build scalable communities. Yes, community since then has been a very, very core part, because it is my, you can say, window for fresh air and fresh technology. What is happening without any sort of, just like in a classroom setup, there is things like, you'll fail if you do not learn this or if you do not pass the exam. Community, there is nothing like that. You want, you learn. You don't want, you network. And if you don't even want that, you don't go there. So, yeah.
Yeah, great. I mean, I can draw a lot of parallels to what you said, Arpan, because as I told you, I got kind of thrown into the whole Flutter community myself, right? I mean, at that time, when I started off with Flutter and Dart, I mean, I'm not a technologist by any stretch of imagination. I mean, I started off as an engineer myself. I used to code in .NET back in the day. But again, I realized quickly that coding was never my cup of tea. So that's why I moved on to the business and management side of things. But I mean, the whole engineering aspect of it and the developer aspect of it has always stayed with me, because I've been in the technology and consulting industry for a long time. So long story short, when I started off in Flutter, I mean, all the developers actually would say, oh, Firebase is my database. That's how
Yes.
they would start off. I mean, in a way, it kind of came along at the same time, if you will. So even today, in the communities that we run in the Bay Area, there's a lot of times where we combine Flutter and Firebase into
Yes.
one meetup, if you will, right? I mean,
Yeah.
especially with the new AI offerings that Firebase and I forget what it's called. I think it's called Firebase Studio, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
With
Yep.
Firebase Studio, I mean, you can almost it's almost like vibe coding, if you will, right? I mean, you give a prompt, it gives you the so it's come a long way. But to your point, I mean, I've met a lot of friends and people whom I have business relationships with today just by the community aspect of it. I mean, and I would say it's not just in the Bay Area locally. I mean, you wouldn't imagine. I mean, across the world, if I travel for work, I will invariably be having coffee or dinner with somebody from the Florida community that I've met. So that network has gone so big, and I always talk about the power of community. I mean, even if a friend of ours comes in, you can always lean on somebody from the community to help a friend of your friend, or if somebody will be there to help
Absolutely.
you out.
Absolutely.
So that's when I saw Commudle, it was super interesting to see what you're trying to do to enable the community more. How to kind of take some of the pain points that communities do have, and how are you alleviating that? Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. But maybe before we get there, talk a little bit about, okay, what is the goal of Commudle when you started? Obviously, with any product, it evolves over time. I'm sure it has evolved over time for you as well. So
Absolutely.
from where you are to where you are today, and maybe we'll talk about a peek into the future as well. Maybe this is the time to showcase Commudle, if you will.
Thank you. Thank you. So today, Commudle serves as an ecosystem building platform for any company which is into DevRel tools. So if I were to cite the problem, what happens is, in general, if you look at communities, they can be solved or managed using, if it's not a very large community, using WhatsApp groups or WhatsApp communities, and probably a payment gateway in case there is any sort of a paid exchange. With developer communities, it is totally different. There is a learning path, there is a life cycle of a member, and it's not mostly a one-time engagement. So what happens is that it might start with one type of an engagement. For example, you can start with an event. Soon the need grows up to, okay, I want to publish some content as well, or I want some real-time communication with my members to be able to chat. It translates into hackathons, maybe some sort of competitions you might engage with some companies, or for building or doing a sprint. And this kind of circle, you pick whichever point it keeps on continuing. Now, a DevRel team or any community manager is constantly hopping to platforms for every new engagement. It might start from meetup.com. It might start from any event platform. We started from Meetup. And then at the end of it, either there's a lot of Excel sheets or there's a lot of dashboards which are getting data from that API or scraping it. And you're losing a lot of insights. For example, if I were to ask in your community platform, how many people are professionals and students, or how many people are interested into Flutter and Python as well, would be kind of impossible to find out. What Commudle does is, instead of DevRel team or community manager or you, Anthony, thinking about, I want to do this activity, which platform should I tie up with or explore? You get all those experiences together. So that becomes your central identity for the community without you having to ever think about. And this platform keeps on growing with your needs as well, because it is focused only on developer communities. On the other hand, one thing which no other platform might think about right now, probably focusing on, is the individual developers. We're not focusing only on making things or life easy of the DevRel team or developer relations folks. We are also thinking about how can this individual, Arpan, who is participating into Anthony's community and GDG's and a lot of other communities, make the best use of, learnings and also showcase them through his or her profile. So that is where people find their identity on Commudle, individual identity on Commudle, also important. A very, you can say, still a little bit blurry long-term vision is, if those many developers can be on the platform, probably anything technology related in the world can be built much faster and easier. So that is what to the core excites me, the kind of things that can be built when all these people are there. USP is definitely the focus on developer communities. We are 100% tech community platform. And second part is basically because of that focus, we are able to build all sorts of engagement that these communities need. And we are technology agnostic, so you don't, as an individual, you might be using Flutter also, and as you mentioned in the past, .NET or any other technology. You're not limited to one company or one brand. This is where a common ecosystem comes into place. Sorry if I've been too long on that.
No, that's perfect. I mean, we can in fact double click on it. I mean, the way I imagine it, I mean, and I might be simplifying it too much, right? Just some light bulbs went off as you were speaking. I mean, I think what you've done at least so far, and I'll be honest, I've not spent too much time on Commudle signing up or anything. But I mean, you've taken the best of the world of, say, some of the features of what a GitHub might provide, plus say what a meetup and kind of mix the drawbacks of some of those as well and bring it all in one place for the developer ecosystem, if you will. I mean, and it works both sides, right? I mean, it works for the developer, the growth of the community, or the company that is trying to grow that community as well. So it's a win-win all across is how I see it. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I think I told you, I used to have on my community on Discord, right? I mean, so in Discord, because it was primarily started off as a gaming community, it was primarily built for gaming, but a lot of developer communities go in. I mean, you wouldn't know who's the real person behind those identities, for a long time. I mean, somebody will have a random, comet name and communicate as though that they are the most brilliant developer on the planet, right? And in the world of bots that we live in today, I mean, there could be any number of people impersonating as a human developer, if you will. I mean, is that the challenge you face today, Arpan? I mean, and how do you kind of overcome that?
So that's the thing. It is not just online engagements that Commudle is a part of, right? If you and I met at an event, let's say, my profile was a bot profile on LinkedIn, which messaged you for that favor that I asked for, you would never know. But if we would have met at an event, Commudle would be telling you that you and Anthony have been a part of the same event. So that kind of, or if you joined a community, I joined a community, we would each be able to see that social tech validation of what we both are doing. That will make it easier to identify the right set of people. So one thing is that if you are into, and since you are into the community ecosystem, you have an idea of the valids, the authenticated, and the ones who might not be that skilled or are starting up. So that is where the actual community inputs come up into Commudle. For example, as you mentioned, Discord. If I remember a startup having grown by throwing away a lot of free t-shirts, growing their community to around 1 million. And when we went to the Discord channel, less than 20 people were active in general. So one of the folks who was managing was discussing this, that now when we do that activity, so I was like, can you give me some data around who is who in terms of describing some demographics, which part of the country, world, experience level, career status, and everything? Nope, nothing. Here, clearly you see who is visiting your community more, second, who is who. And if they've not updated their profile, they automatically become less important to you because you do not know them. And yes, as you said, we do get a decent amount of spam. So for which I asked AI, I was just brainstorming with ChatGPT, Gemini, and others. Should I use your API key and just send over the data and you will return the response in a specified format using LangGraph, LangChain? The answer was AI will be an overkill. Why AI? So then we deployed a machine learning model which was able to detect it. Yes, but that spam turned out to be a good upgrade to our security and safety for users.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at it two ways, right? I mean, how do you take it head on, or how do you brush it aside, ignore it, and a later point of time, I mean, it brings down your downfall, right? So
absolutely,
you can approach it either way, whichever way you like. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about in terms of, so we spoke about how you got here. Where have you seen the most pull from for Commudle? I mean, who is using it? What is a really slam dunk use case, if you will, for using it? I mean, I did see on the website that, I mean, obviously enterprises can use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Small developer communities can use it, and DevRel folks can use it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us some examples of, folks who, I mean, I'm not asking you to name customers or anything. I mean, typically, who is the chief buyer for a product like Commudle? Does it come from the CTO organization or the chief product officer? Who usually procures it?
Okay, so let me scale this up. Any company which is building tools for developers is the target customer, because dev tools and communities, I think, are necessities for each other. Now, in case of a startup, how small or even up till mid-size startups, there would mostly be, I would say, kind of a community manager. And there's not a lot of DevRel established there, and it directly comes under the CMO. So that particular company, probably the CMO is the right person. And
Makes sense.
I look at it from the perspective of an enterprise, they would have a head of developer programs. More than relations, it is the programs. So that person is the right one whom we reach out to and talk. As usual, initial stages, I used to talk only features. Now we try to understand their problem better, and that is serving us well. And the platform has also evolved over 3 years now.
Perfect. So, couple more segments I want to get into. So, I want to go back and talk about Arpan, the founder, and the guy who's running the show here, right? I mean, what do you take in, or who inspires you to do these things, Arpan? I mean, do you have a role model in your life? I know your parents put you on the right track from the childhood days, but I mean, coming out of as an engineer is one thing. Running a company is a totally different ball game, right? I mean, engineering does not teach all the skills to do this, right? So, whom do you rely on during your dull days and your rough days for motivation, and what keeps you going as a founder and CEO?
So, okay, one thing that I discuss, and I, like everyone, has advisors for my company, and then some life mentors in front of whom I talk out everything, literally everything, whatever is at the back of my head. Sometimes, thing that is said is, being a founder, lowers are lower every time you encounter something, because you're growing. So when some roadblock occurs, it is even bigger than the last time. So that is there. But I'm very fortunate to have my advisors also, who, I've had those days wherein initially I used to talk to them that, am I getting paranoid? Am I the only one who is excited about it? The answer was, you should be at least the only one who is excited about it. And for paranoid thing, they are very straightforward about things that, why are you doing this? How can you get this done in 1 month instead of 6 months? Second is, if I used to ever talk about, can I or should I get a part-time job or something to get that cash flow initially into my company? That is the easy part, Arpan. Tell me, if you shut this down, will you be able to live with the fact, or an unanswered question in your head that, I don't know where I would have been able to take it, right? So all those things. But yes, there is a segregation of a personal support system and a professional support system. There are a couple of people who overlap, but I am really grateful to them. They have shaped a lot of the part of my journey professionally, personally, and been here of who I am today. And, one of them said that, Arpan, why are you feeling down? This time that I am sitting with you over dinner, people kill for it. So you should feel good about it. So, okay, that immediately elevated my mood. So yes, all sorts of conversations happen, but yes, that support system is there.
Awesome. I'm very glad that you can lean on somebody during both the good times and the bad times, right?
Absolutely.
So that's absolutely important for the founders. So what's the future looking like, Arpan? What should people be excited for with Commudle? What's coming?
So Commudle is transforming into a lot more insights that have been getting collected onto the platform. Some things which we built initially, but we didn't utilize them in terms of how your community is growing. That kind of insights is getting collected, and with AI, I am pretty sure it will be more understandable and more readable. If anyone is trying to use it, not only on a personal level, but more importantly on a company level, they will be able to get to know what is the direction of the ecosystem from the people who have joined their communities, because that is what drives their product actually. If I'm building in X direction and my community is wanting to learn Y or build on Y, then probably I should just a different route, because people are not interested. That is what we are trying to get towards.
That's beautiful because I can tell you, I mean, it's a real life example. I mean, I mentioned Discord earlier. We would have a lot of people who just come and hang out in our community, just look at what other people are talking without even opening their mouth on what they're really there for, you know? And after 3 months of just dormancy, no word whatsoever, they might put a message, hey, I've been tracking this and I have this idea to build this app. Would you be able to help? Right? I mean, and to my point earlier, they would have had some fancy nickname and you wouldn't know who they are. I mean, and
Correct.
in some cases, I've come to find out, I mean, they are a CTO of a company, just
Yes.
waiting to see if they get the right answer through the community. I mean, and if you know them in a better way through a product like Commudle, I mean, it's a win-win for everybody, you know?
Absolutely.
So I'm so glad that you guys are doing that. And the insights part that you mentioned, that as well. I mean, you know, it is very important for the buyers that you said, right? Whether it's a CMO or the developer programs leaders in all these enterprises. I mean, that's what drives their decision and next steps as well, right? I mean, if they understand, hey, this is where we're going wrong. This campaign is working well versus that campaign is not working well, whether it's just throwing out t-shirts or something else, you know, at least they need to know that is causing the spike or the lull in when the developers are coming in. So great that you guys are doing that. So all the best to you and the team, Arpan. Thanks so much for sharing your journey. I loved all your stories. I'm thankful that you were able to share all those anecdotes with us. I mean, it always makes it interesting. I mean, the life is all about that. So I'm glad you were open to sharing that. Wish you and the team the very best in Commudle. I'll be sure to check it out. And I'm already thinking of a few people whom I can introduce Commudle to. So I'll speak to you offline about it. So good luck to you and the team.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anthony. And I am excited to be the first podcast of the year. So very happy New Year to all the listeners and viewers, and obviously to you. And really grateful for the opportunity. It has been a lovely discussion.
Thanks so much, Arpan. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.